this is going to be a first video. We are going to create a CMS content management system using Next.js, but we are going to host everything entirely on Cloudflare. So we are going to use Cloudflare to host everything. And in order to do this, we are going to use OpenNext, which is going to be the framework which is going to be basically the library of framework that we're going to use. The framework is Next.js, but Cloudflare, I think, have a partnership, or they created an alternative to not creating Next.js applications using the Node.js runtime rather than the Edge runtime. So I'm going to create my company's website using this so that it's actually something that is practical, not just an example for someone to use. So I'm going to go to OpenNext website and go to Cloudflare and then run this script. So this is the script you have to run, but if you've already installed Next.js, you can use this script. I don't see the point in using the other script. Okay, here we go. I thought that was already covered. So framework, we are going to use Next.js. The Next.js framework, and yeah, yes, TypeScript, yes, lint, okay, yes, no, let's use app in order to structure our code properly, and yes to table pack, and no to the rest of this. So it's quite cheaper when you use Cloudflare for all your web-based services. Say you're creating a website, it's cheaper using Cloudflare because of their pricing, and also since everything is placed in one location. Since everything is in one location, you don't have this whole chunk of having to pay for multiple services just to get a basic structure or concept of a website running. So everything you get, basically you have everything available in one single platform, which is quite cheap. They have a free version which allows you to build and get everything running for the start, and then you can start paying for the pro version for certain parts of it, because there are other parts that are free. Now the most interesting part is they have domain hosting, whereby you're going to have that sorted. You're going to host your website with the Cloudflare workers, which gets that sorted, and then lastly you're going to have access to other services. Like they have a lot of services that include things like R2, which is S3 storage, R2 buckets, and they have which includes R2 bucket, and they have images, they have stream, they have AI, they have R2, they have storage, and under storage you have KV and D1 SQL database, hyperdrive, Fuse, analytics, and then there is real time. This is a little bit new. I haven't gotten any idea or concept about it. So we are going to use this compute workers rather than which is basically, I think it's still the same thing with workers platform. I'm not yet sure about it because this is relevantly it's kind of new to me. I've not seen it. We're going to use workers rather than pages. We're going to use the workers side of it, and everything is going to run on Next.js. We're going to use ShadCN for the UI. We're going to use we're going to structure our SQL using an we're going to structure our SQL using Drizzle. We're going to structure it using Drizzle RM, and the things that we're mainly going to use is Cloudflare workers, plus the database we're going to use D1 SQL, and then the storage we're going to use the RR2 object storage. Then for our API structure, instead of using the Next.js API, which is the API route, we're going to, which is basically a file-based API route, we're going to use more of since we're using app directory, which is file-based. The file-based structure is kind of nice, I won't lie to you. It's not bad, it's just that it's not preferable if you're trying to make something like a CMS. It's quite difficult to deal with the file structure because there are a lot of things that you're supposed to get into there. So we're going to use Hono instead. Oh crap. We're going to use Hono instead of the Next.js API routes. And do you want to use GitHub versioning? Yes, we're going to use GitHub. Do you want to deploy your application? I think we can deploy it. Yes. Let's just deploy it for now. Since we are going to deploy it anyway, we can deploy it for now. And then to get everything working up well, lucky enough, so all I'm going to do is rename it Ferris, and then I'm going to make it private since it's kind of difficult to deal with. Okay, let me make it public for now. Okay, let me make it public for now. I'll figure out a way how to hide some of the critical information from it, because it's kind of because I'm not yet certain of how to protect this, but yes, I'm sure about I'm certain about deleting it or changing it or removing it, but I'm not sure about how to protect the keys inside. I'll show you what I mean by that. But for this example, we can go along with this. Let's not mind that much. Mind that much about it. So here we start. We started by heading to open next and then running this script, which is still running right now. It's quite a long process. The script was already done. It's just that for now I wanted to actually upload it to Cloudflare so that it's running on Cloudflare, and here it's running at Ferris, learning.me, workers div, so it's running directly on Cloudflare, so it's uploading it. For now, just for the sake of just uploading it, and I've created a database. I've created a GitHub repository to upload this into, to push this our code base into it. And let's wait for the remaining parts to complete and we shall get straight to developing. For the design, since I'm doing this unscripted and I'm not trying to to have everything prepared in mind, and I'm just swinging with whatever is going, whatever pleases me is what I will design with. So we're going to just let's see, headless CMS UI design. Let's just look for one that appeals to us and we shall base our design on that. Not the whole of it, but some of it. See, doesn't look enticing enough. Not enticing enough. Not really. Okay, that looks fairly fine. Not there. Not enticing. Looks promising. This is taking longer than expected. Okay, this looks fairly nice, and I think ShadCN has kind of this UI, since we're going to use ShadCN for our our UI. See, sidebars. Okay, it does have something to that, and here it is. So yeah, we can follow this, or else we could go more with this. This looks nice. Okay, this looks way more appealing to me. This looks kind of way more appealing. We shall borrow ideas from different CMSs that already exist in order to make our own. Interesting part of it. Same thing, I think, with our UI, we shall also do the same thing. Oh crap, this is taking way too long. We can get into it and leave the rest of that going on. So here we get into our code, because I'm not going to wait for all that nonsense to finish building up, and get right away to developing our platform. So first and foremost, I'm going to have to do few edits onto here. So the issue that I have with Rango, with the Rango config, is that I'm not certain about its security, if I'm being honest. I'm going to activate placement to smart placement, and then I'm going to remove the rest of these. I don't think we shall need most of these. Okay, we have assets done there. Services, we can do those other things later on. And we have Node.js compatibility and so on done. And this is the latest compatibility date. Everything is set up there. And Next, I like to remove away the key, the hash, so that in case I upload it, it doesn't really bring any kind of conflicts within it. The rest of these are fine. Instead of CF type, I like to put it at CFGen. And okay, this is fine. Now we're going to create globals globals.d.ts to help us make our Node.js process environments public. So we should name it as globals. As global. And inside here we shall give the name Node.js. Okay, that auto-filled well. Oh, it's going to struggle with that crap. And since we're going to use .dvars, we can still also add .env into it, and also make sure. Okay, that's it. Now we need to extend this so that it's easier for us to get our processes. Extends hardware. So what this does, what the globals does, it makes using the calling our environmental variables easier for us, whereby all you need to do is process .env .node environment, and it's easier for it to be imported. So we have a type, kind of typed for us, type safe for us to actually import and use it within it. Though that's not how it's going to work when it comes to the actual code side, because when it comes to the Firebase when it comes to the Cloudflare integration. So here we're going to have two structures. We're going to have our back end, and let's have our front end also here. Now for the favicon, whatever it is, the icon for that will show up in our code, we shall let it be at that position. And let's also leave our Tailwind CSS config right there. Copy this and paste it inside here, and also share it inside there, so that we have two sides that have this. And we're going to have to remove this. We shall have front end and back end, and all of them have to have different UIs, since we are going to have it's a CMS, a content management center, whereby you develop the front end on its own and manage all the content of the front end from the back end. That's what the CMS in basic terms is. Now, since these are all in one path, since this is both of them is pointing to one path, which is route, it's pointing to route like this. So we shall have our admin and admin, so that it has a different route than the main route, and the rest of the other information, the rest of the other routes will handle the UI side. So we shall create a directory right inside it called routes, and inside routes, so yeah, we shall create it inside routes, and we should just copy page from here and toss it inside the routes there. Okay, and since this is going to be our backend, it would be best practice to put our API right here in that folder. Since it's still under route in the folder, it's so, because backend does not exist, this backend does not exist as a route, it exists just as folder inside our code. So everything inside it is still under the route itself, the main route itself. So API will go here, and then for admin would be like we shall access it like this, but this will show anything inside our front end. Now in order to demonstrate that, I'm going to remove this and just put a div, simple div, flex column, grade 5 for no point or no reason, and let's call it admin side. So since our admin side doesn't have anything in it, and our front end side has information in it, we shall see the difference easily within when we run our application. So everything is done. cd into 8 clear, and then we're going to run pnp div since we're using pnp. So when we run our local code, our code locally, we should we forgot we forgot to get the correct path of our global CSS, and simply I would like to point out the main directory add, the main path add up, then here, so our CSS is going to be right there. And then we shall also do the same exact thing with this side of it. I don't know why it's slow. Okay, we should refresh this and it should show us the UI. Okay, it's quite slow for some reason. Okay, recompiling, and there we go, we have our code all set up. Same thing with admin. So we have 2 points, so the admin side and then our front end side. Now we are going to start by the admin side. I think we shall start with designing the admin side so that we have everything incorporated through our API and running it here. Now let's start by setting up Hono. Instead of using the next API route, we're going to use Hono. So pnp add Hono into this, and you can do all of this by coming here at Hono, get started, and look for Vercel. Since Vercel is basically Next.js, it's basically Next.js, it will have all the examples for it. So here's the information. If you're using the app route, edit API with API. So we add this here, route, whatever name you put here is fine since it's dynamic. So, and inside it we shall have route.ts, and that's when we can just copy this really and paste it right there. And remove this since we are using OpenNext. We don't really need to have, there's no need for us to have a definition for Edge runtime, since we are not using Edge runtime and we're using the Node.js runtime or Node compatibility. Now there are certain things I like to first eliminate, which is ESLint I like to ignore it during build so that I don't get some annoying build errors. And also let's define React mode static to true. No, okay, the click. Okay, we got that covered. And for the start, refresh that. So let's use this for API side and API hello world, just like how it's defined inside here. The routes we have hello world, and here it is, all running well. Yep, without an error or an issue. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up we're going to set up a new folder to handle the back-end part of it. Let's call it server, and we're going to add index so that when we call or import something, it's all handled right in there. Let's have client. Let's just have a folder that's empty inside there to deal with the client side of it. And yeah, and then let's also define this route in our TSX. For some reason, I don't know why my I don't know why this is happening, why my forgetting what I wanted to say. I don't know why my Visual Code Studio is kind of acting weirdly slow for some reason. So I shall give this a server and every folder in it and at that path, and then also define the exact path that we're calling from, which is server slash all the paths inside server will be served under server on this path. Any path that is inside it will be served under server to our application. Okay, let's also head back here and export an empty. So okay, we have this done here, and we shall take all the APIs from here and structure them right inside our server side so that we can do everything from a distinct folder. When it comes to the API side, we shall handle everything from here. Now the next step we should do is install ShadCN. Okay, and the Next.js part of it. So we shall install ShadCN, and to structure our code well, what we're going to do is I'm going to put everything under compose. Also define that directory to be compose. We are going to structure our components inside there under compose. Then under server we shall also have utilities. This will have components for ShadCN. Then yes, this lib part, instead of lib we shall use this directory of server to have the utils of this. So copy this, paste it there, and then come to the components file for it, and then we shall add a single button. Shall add a button just to test if everything is set up correctly. Now we need to first edit this before anything else. Our folder is called compose, and since it's already defined in path, it should be, technically, if I'm not wrong, I should use add there, and this will be server slash let me copy the correct file name so that I don't mess it up. So compose that, same thing with this, copy it, change it from libs to that, and then we shall also have our hooks inside the same server part of it, and for it let's put it under server hooks and have the folder also here. We don't really need to create the folder, but let's create it. I think we shall also use that same folder for different things by creating some other hooks of our own. And let's save this folder. I don't know why it's being slow, some weird reason. Anyway, okay, have that set up. Now time to test if everything has gone out correctly by adding a button to it, a ShadCN button, and it should go directly to our compose folder. Correctly done. Now we need to check another thing, which is okay, which has gone correctly. Yep. Okay, we have set up most of our things. We are using Cloudflare for all of these, and we're going to push it to Cloudflare. Now let's add a couple more components to it, like label, sonar for notifications, like the toast notifications, input obviously, then text area as well, and let's add some more things. Should need a badge, avatar, and what else? So add the progress, and I think for now let's also add pagination and and separator. As well as some skeleton. Never really used skeleton, but I'm going to use it today. We shall add checkbox or checks. I think it's called checkbox or something like that. Is it even available? Am I picking stuff from my head? Okay. Let's add switch as well as tooltip to show us the tip on what we are actually working on. Okay. Yeah, I think we should also have some tabs, and yeah, for now let's go with that. We shall add the rest with time. So we set up all that. Now the next part of this is, I think we should also add our repository to it. Added and everything there. Okay. So we're going to use our sidebars from ShadCN. Those are the sidebars we're going to use. So we shall need to install that as required. You see, it should be somewhere here. Okay, here it is. Let's add that to lists of our own codes, our own components. Okay, it's adding a little bit more to it, and we're going to also edit our global CSS to add some little bit of flares into it. So here we add utility, no, not utility, add, let me see, okay, let me copy this from here, add this, because we shall need this. I'm not yet familiar with the v4 containers, so I will use the old method of the containers by adding a utility for container, and also adding a utility for scrolling. So let's convert this into a utility. So what it's we can actually see it in our structure. So we can remove this. Basically, so when we use at utility, this would be visible in our code, like when it will be visible with our highlighting of our code. Like if I say no scroll, did we use no scroll bar, or did we use scroll bar now, or something like that? Oh, we did not save it. So let's save it and I demonstrate what it does with that. And also, I don't like the scroll bars on the side for websites. They kind of look redundantly ugly. So we shall use WebKit scroll bar and add apply width of 0, as well as, just for the sake of having nothing to do, to put height. But you can also use width. You can use the CSS method by width of 0 rem and height of 0 rem, but since we have used apply, the CSS method of Tailwind to do that. So here it comes, the no scroll, and we can see the no scroll bar here since we already defined it as part of a utility. Now next part of this, we shall add suppress Hydra. Same thing here, we shall suppress Hydra, hydration warning, and let's remove gist from here. Rather than using the next front Google, we are going to use PNP and gist itself. Can come to here, gist, which doesn't crowd. I like to use it because it doesn't crowd your work at all, and it's kind of like the easiest way to use it. And just use as sun. Kind of simplifies the way you structure your code. And also import. Okay, thanks for simplifying that for me. And we shall add it here at the top. Now let's add it inside here, and as well as the mono variable, and let's just remove this from here. Flex minimum height screen, and remove this, and then yeah, we shall structure this correctly. For now, just follow along with how I'm structuring it, but since you've gotten the view of it, just copy all this as is, and let's change it here. Okay, there we got our structures fairly done, and to test that our code is actually still correctly running and we don't have any kind of sorts of errors, we run it in pnp div or npnp div npm div, sorry, and hello world. We got everything running correctly, and there as well running correctly. Now up next, what should we do next? We've set up that, and yep, we installed our sidebars. Now I'm going to copy our sidebar for our backend, because the backend is going to be enclosed in our backend is going to be enclosed as a dashboard itself. So backend, put this here, and yep, okay, thanks for the autocomplete. Okay, got that there, and then the upper, which we are going to create right now. Let's call it backend here, and just structure it as backend. and okay, let's name this as dashboard to structure our code well enough. Then under dashboard we have the app sidebar TSX, since it's a UI. And since we said we're going to follow the design, we decided to follow this design, this one. I think this is kind of more nice for, for our UI. So yeah, I think let's follow this. Site provider. Okay, let's copy this so that we can minimize and also increase the size of our dashboard sidebar when needed. So we can add this here. Copy paste, Control V. Okay, that's there. Now for the app sidebar, here we do have an example of it. I think we can copy the example and we shall restructure it to fit our own goals and needs. So just paste it there, and there we come to the part where we need to actually restructure it. Okay, it's using tabular. Oh, I've never seen these icons. Let's try to see. I've been using, okay, this looks actually way better than Lucid itself. Okay, let's install that as well. PnP add tabular. Can we use that? Okay. Components. Instead of components, we are using Compose. That's about it. So the rest of these are more related to that UI side of it, parts of the component, parts of our app sidebar. I should definitely remove this click in the next video, because this one is just for the starting point of it. So we shall remove this and add it to do here. Okay, there. Okay, now next let's create these sidebar items where our items will be, and let's name it app nav menu the tsx. Since it's going to be reusable, we can I decided we wanted to copy most of this. Okay, we can copy it from here. Let's copy this document. No, let's just copy the main one anyway. Not really a big deal. Let's copy it, come back, paste it there, and save. Though we shall need title in order for us to have this kind of titles, like document, have titles for different parts of them, and since this is a property, a string, or else we could actually just bring it here and put it here. So items slash inside, copy this as is. Could have just go back to documents since we want this title part of it, and just copy it as is like this. So here we go. We shall have our title here, and add it there. Then we need to also import this from the library itself, add it there. Then let's remove this top menu, which is basically a button on the other side. It's this button, this one. We don't really need that here since we're developing our own CMS and we don't really need to follow that. So title here and that. Okay, so we should also have routing. We use route from next navigation, and that there. Okay, I think we can actually, rather than using route itself, okay, for now let's first ignore that and not get into all that there, and correct our imports. Copy this, put it here, that, remove this from there, and let's as well delete all unused imports and save that there, and also correct our naming to app nav menu, and here we come back to app nav menu, and our title for this one is going to be collections. Plus the nav items themselves, and we import this, and remove all these other things here. Okay. Now let's create one data entry, an empty one, which is going to be our collections, and just create one empty one for it, which will have the name. Let's reference from our, so we have title. Okay, let's change it to name. So we have name, we have URL, and then so simplify this by, sorry about that. return let's have this here. We have name, then we have icon, and we have URL, and this has name as well as the name for tooltip and the name for the title here, and then the icon right there. And since we don't have that, right, okay, yeah, we can leave the icon to have that in order for it to have the properties for showing the icon itself as a React, in kind of a format of a React node. So saving that. Next for this, sorry, I totally forgot which part I was on. Okay, we have name, URL, and icon. And so the name here we shall have, let's have our pages, which will display the pages for which will contain our pages for our CMS, and name it as pages. And then the icon will be icon folder. Okay, I don't know if that exists. Let's look for something more of a folders kind of way format. Look for notes, and this does fit well, but this would fit more better. So let's take notes. Okay, starts with icon, so icon notes, note or notes. So we have icon note, and since we're defining that there, let's add it right there. Okay, but since collection is in itself, rather than us having to define the title, we can define the title as here with collections and items, having it go just like that, smoothly and easily done. So we don't really need to take this to account. That means we need to restructure this. Other than restructuring it, we could come here and define it like this. Let's see if this will work actually. Yep, and it did work. So giving us this. It is. Now take our up sidebar and it right here so that we can have our sidebar. Yep. So when we refresh our code, we should see most of this. Oh yeah, I forgot to define, I forgot to add an undefined term on it. Yep, and here we do have our code coming out nicely, our backend coming out nicely. So next part is okay, we do have that done, though we need this to happen as well. So in order for that to happen, we need to copy the variant insert, and also we need to sidebar insert the rest of the page into now. We shall also add div. Oh, come on. Let's add it to flex one so that it flexes to the whole entire page, which will be inside here. That will be right inside here, and we should take this in order to pad it correctly. So we shall also have the site header on top of that, and there we have it, nice looking. Insert, though we are missing that part of closing it, the menu that closes it. The reason we are missing that is because we have not yet created the site header, which is on that example. First, we won't call it the site header. Let's call it app header, the tsx, and export it default function header. Let's call it app header just for consistency with the naming, and return header, and inside header we shall have our own divs inside there. So let's copy what is already available here, and we shall redesign it to fit our needs. Let's copy this as is. We shall restructure it to fit our design correctly. There we go. Now we need to import button and import the sidebar trigger as well, the separator. Import this as well as import this, and then we also need to import button. Some reason my IDE is quite slow. I need to restart my laptop, but I'm finishing this part of the tutorial until I'm finishing up to the part where we change the themings to dark theme and light theme, or follow the system theme itself. So here we are going to add use client for now. We are not yet using it, but let's add use client, since we are going to actually use things that use client, add properties that use client, and let's import it right here inside here. Okay, and our code is heading up well. We have the header done. Then we also need to save that header. And when we come back to our code, and there we have our dashboard coming out well for us, and the GitHub link part of it. Here we shall have our icon, and here we shall have the navigation part of it, like we shall have our pagination parts of it here, kind of a pagination or something of a kind there. Okay, this is fine for now. For now, this is fine for us. Now let's get to the part whereby we deal with the theming. So for the themes, since all sites will be using themes, and we shall have our backend have different themings as well as our backend, so that the theming for the backend does not affect the front end, and the front end does not affect the back end side, and they have different. So we shall name it as theme provider, and we're going to install pnp add next. Let's follow the example from here. I think there is supposed to be an example. Okay, here. No, shall go to dark mode, Next.js, and next theme itself. Themes, and just copy this as is. And since we have this here, we shall call it index.tsx. Hope we can get this theme part of it done with, and also push it to our Cloudflare and show you how it is at the current moment of time, and then later on we shall continue further with the next part of it. I'll skip the pretty print. Okay, got this. Let's come to our backend site, and at the higher level, the upper part of it, add this, copy this, and below sidebar provider as well. So we enclose it in the middle there, push it as a child of its own, and then import our theme provider from compose, and then we shall add these properties to it. This as default, by default it will follow that. Let's not disable transitional changes and leave it to have transitional changes. Enable system to true. You don't really need to add the equals to true, since when you add the statement it will enable it by default, unless the props are defined differently. So it will follow the system theming. Now for the system theming, our background has to follow background itself, the BG of background. Let's wait for that to save. Skip these configurations. and when we come back, refresh, and there we have our dark theme. Then we shall put the theming part of it in our dashboard itself to structure it correctly. Okay, I think for now we shall stop here with pushing it to our Cloudflare. Now when we come back here, we have deploy, we have generating PNP to generate our Cloudflare environmental variables. Let's generate it. We don't really require it right now since we are not really implementing our Cloudflare at the moment, the Cloudflare properties at the moment, or props at the moment. But for the sake of passing time, let's get it there for now. And for the first run, it does take a lot of time for it to actually build this. That's the annoying part about it. Okay, we have a nice structure, and also as that is building up, I think let's push this as initial build. And first confirm, and we're not sending any sensitive information yet at the moment, so we can just push it to our GitHub repository. As well as this is done, let's push deploy. Oh, sorry, I think I might have forgotten the correct. Here we go. Oh, you have to add run to it due to how Cloudflare is structured. So PNP, rather than during PNP, we don't normally add the word run into the process, but when you're using Cloudflare Open Next, it's always best to add it right there. But we can simplify it by actually doing everything right here and adding it directly here. Run div, so that when we run PNP when we run PNP deploy, it automatically has the run part of it there. So let's wait for it to deploy, and then we can test again and see everything, and then we shall start the next part of this tutorial from there. Let's capture this, that we shall use as our thumbnail. Okay, as that builds, we are going to do, in the next part of the tutorial, we're going to finish up with basic structure for our CMS, and also design most of this, and also implement the movements of that, and then we shall add Drizzle as well as create a D1 database and create a D1 database, and then we should start programming our back-end logic itself. We shall follow more of a Firebase auth. We shall follow more of a Firebase auth structure. I like how it's structured, basically how this structured kind of the Firebase authentication. So I shall try to mimic how this is done. I don't know how we shall accomplish it well, but we shall try to mimic this and follow some of how the structure is done for it in order to create our authentication and also create other parts of it. So wait for that to get done. See, upload. Our build, upload. Okay, our build was done correctly since we already have. Okay, do we have an instance running? No, I think I must have closed it. Okay, let's open another one. Here is our current updated part of it, and our dashboard should appear. Am I getting this wrongly? It should have updated. I don't know why it has not yet updated. Okay, we should need to check this. There might be an error that has not been shown this side, but it has updated it. A minute ago. So I mean it's updated correctly. I don't know why it's not showing up yet on the other side. Admin, which has updated correctly, but I think it takes some time for it to actually update everything. So we have our API working, we have our dashboard working, we have everything running correctly. So let's see. Let's try to figure this out so that we can. Wow, okay, this is some nice structure. No? Okay. I like how this looks. It's kind of nice. Let's try to figure out why this is not working. So let's also connect our GitHub as we are at it. We shall figure out why it's not working and why it's working when it comes to the preview a URL, but not on the URL itself. Okay, as we are waiting for that to load up, so that I can add so that I can add GitHub to it. Okay, so that can run it, but since we already have it defined, so we can run pnp deploy and just connect it at once like that. And since we are using the main directory, the main branch from Ferus, our repository, let's connect everything just like that. And as we are at that, we can as well copy the theming from the back end side and add it to the front end side as well. Just so the next tasks are quite simpler for us to follow here. And background skip this, not interested in that. Let's have a look. Let's disable that. The error that is being shown is usually due to cases whereby the back side has been cleared out while running build. Sometimes the div server side can be cleared, so all you need to do is recompile that and everything would work just fine. It should work fine at least. Yep, and that is it. So to center that, to put it back in the center, we shall just use div. Oh crap. Paste that class name and just flex it. Fits in the middle and it should center itself. And there we are. centered it back to the position it was in, and there we go. I think we have our data all structured. Okay, and let's push this. I've forgotten how to comment the exact and push it and confirm that this is actually building correctly. Building in process. Build in process. Okay, now the other part has come up working well, which is quite interesting later on. So okay, this is working. I think it takes a little bit of time for it to actually get live, but so we have 1, 2, 3 of now build process and so on. Okay, I think we shall build once in a while, not every single minute. So have that there. Sorry, it's supposed to be div. Okay, we have that done. Let's just wait for this to complete its build. I think it should be close to completion. Oh, it's just starting the build right now. And then we shall start the next part from there. The next part will involve actually creating the parts. We shall start with authentication, and after authentication we shall go to structuring our CMS, and then we shall go to structuring our CMS and then adding parts to it, and then we shall involve media, and we shall involve media into it, adding the array to database into it, and structure our code correctly, and other implementations. We shall see on the way, because I'm doing this on the fly. It's not like I had a design or plan in mind. No, this is happening on the fly. Because from here we are going to follow some of, because Payload CMS has a nice structure to it, if I'm correct. Yeah, Payload CMS has kind of a nice structure, so we shall copy a few of these structures, like this part, not the whole of it as it is, but some of that part. We shall copy it and implement it to our the route part of it, admin. When you're at admin, if you're logged in, it will show the collection, some statistics up here, the collection, and then preferences down right below here. Then on the side we shall have our collection, which one of the collection is pages, and then the other collections, we shall have different flavors of things into it. And we shall also copy certain ideas and concepts from Firebase. And yeah, I think that's about it. Copy concepts from different parts. Yeah, this looks nice. And yeah, I think we can copy some ideas from all these in order to create our own CMS. Let's see if the build is complete. And yep, this time it actually worked faster than last time. So we have API, hello world, they are working correctly. We have admin working correctly, just fine and steady. And up next we shall be having our we shall be designing other parts of our code right here. So exit this and exit this, close, shut down. See you in the next video.